Hi, I'm Matt Halpern, and I lead policy and enforcement operations for YouTube Trust and Safety globally.
And I'm Jenny Flannery O'Connor, and I lead the product management team for YouTube Trust and Safety globally.
We know many people have questions about our policies, so we wanted to take this opportunity to take you behind the scenes and walk you through our policy development process.
In a nutshell, our policies are rules that explain what you can and can't do on YouTube. We want YouTube to be a place where a wide variety of voices and perspectives can be heard. But at the same time, we want to protect our community from harmful content. So our community guidelines are there to make it clear what can stay on the site. Developing a policy is a much more complicated process than it seems at first glance. Take challenge videos, for example. So you've got a video with a challenge to walk around and complete a task with a blindfold on, which seems relatively safe, and we should allow for that. But what if the person is in traffic? What if they're a child? Should that be allowed?
Or consider the use of offensive language against a particular group. It seems obvious at first we should have policies against it. However, we need to look at who is using these words and in what context. Some people might think it's fine for a specific group to reclaim a racial slur for themselves, but not others. We also have to think about how a reviewer can know whether or not it's appropriate for someone to use it. A lot of comedians use reclaimed language, but how can the reviewer know the comedian's religious beliefs or sexual orientation to decide whether that use is acceptable? So developing a policy is a nuanced process and not always cut and dried.
Well, that's our policy team, and they consult extensively with outside experts as well as creators themselves. We have over 100 people working on policy development, deployment, and enforcement consistency, made up of policy and enforcement specialists all over the world.
We also consult with outside experts, so we're tapping into a wide range of knowledge and experience. They can come from NGOs, law enforcement, academia, industry, policy organizations, from all sides of the political spectrum. For example, when we were updating our policy on harassment, we spoke to organizations that study online bullying, free speech proponents, and a range of policy organizations.
After we've met with outside experts, we often turn to our Creators in Residence program, where we listen to a global group of creators to understand how they experience the policy, or consider how a policy update might impact a creator in the future.
Once we have a new policy proposal, we start a 4-stage approval process where cross-functional senior executives inside YouTube each give different perspectives from different viewpoints. At any point in the process, if they feel a policy doesn't result in the best outcome for our users, it goes back to the drawing board. To make sure the new policy is clear, we test our reviewers to make sure they're enforcing it consistently. If that doesn't happen, we revise the training and internal guidelines to make them more clear, and then we repeat the process until we get it right.
So now you know how each policy is developed. You can explore the actual policies that make up our community guidelines on the How YouTube Works website.
It's a carefully considered process with an incredible amount of thought, research, expertise, and collaboration going into each and every policy. We have a responsibility to make sure YouTube continues to be a place where community, learning, and opportunity are able to thrive. So we're committed to getting our policies right for our creators and community.
Hi, I'm Jennifer O'Connor. I lead the product and intelligence teams for Trust and Safety at YouTube. We're responsible for analyzing the risks faced by YouTube and our users in the future, and then developing the technology and systems that will help us enforce our policies to protect our community.
And I'm Matt Halpern. I lead policy and enforcement operations for YouTube Trust and Safety. We develop YouTube's policies, then run the operation that supports the enforcement of those policies across all our content.
And that's a lot of content. 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute, uploaded from every country in the world 24 hours a day. Most of that content informs, inspires, or simply delights our viewers and represents our rich and diverse community. However, there's a small fraction of content that can sometimes cross the line.
So our teams come together to make sure we're safeguarding everything that's great about YouTube from that small fraction. So what you see follows our community guidelines, the policies that protect our community.
And to do that, we use a combination of advanced machine learning systems and our community itself to flag content that they think may violate our policies. And our expert reviewers remove content that does violate our policies.
So why is there still harmful content on the platform? If we're using all this advanced technology, why don't we get it right all the time? Why do we remove some videos but not others? Today we want to answer a few questions about the work we're doing to enforce our community guidelines and explain what makes that a constantly evolving challenge.
First of all, any logged-in viewer can report a video or comment that they think is harmful. We call this flagging content. But not every viewer may recognize the types of symbols, logos, or coded language that a terrorist organization might use, for example. And that's why we also have a trusted flagger program, which we created for government agencies and NGOs with expertise in specific areas.
They are particularly effective at reporting content that violates our community guidelines and have access to policy training and a prioritized line of communication with our trust and safety teams. It's worth bearing in mind that just because someone flags a video, it isn't necessarily removed. And that applies to our trusted flaggers as well.
But by far and away, our most powerful detection tool is machine learning. Machine learning has been a game changer when it comes to proactively identifying harmful content at the type of scale we see on YouTube. In a nutshell, machine learning is a way to teach computers what we want to find by showing them examples of what we're looking for. Machines are then able to take these examples, work out patterns that explain them, and then use those patterns to make predictions about new examples to find things that match.
So if we wanted to teach a machine to search for videos featuring dogs, we would show it many examples of what a dog looks like, as well as examples of what it doesn't look like, so that it knows what to find and what to avoid. Our machine learning systems would then analyze pixels and colors and shapes to find everything that looks like a dog, but ignore everything that looks like a cat or a horse or something else.
However, finding specific types of harmful content on YouTube is a bit more nuanced than that. Our machine learning systems are on the lookout for harmful content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which means we're able to review hundreds and thousands of videos on a much greater scale, and in a fraction of the time it would take a human to do the same thing.
We've been investing in machine learning to help us detect harmful content since 2017. It was first introduced to flag violent extremist content for human review, and following positive results, we've been able to successfully train machine learning technology across a range of challenging content areas, including child safety and hate speech.
Today, more than 90% of the content that we remove from YouTube is first detected by machine learning systems, and most of the videos we remove for violating our policies have fewer than 10 views on them. As we've increased our investment in technology like machine learning since 2017, the amount of content that violates our policies that is being seen by viewers has fallen significantly.
That's a good question. Machine learning is great at identifying content that is similar to content we've already removed, such as spam. Machine learning can also work well when it has a lot of clear examples to learn from with little variation. For example, nudity.
However, technology isn't a silver bullet. Even the best technology in the world can only do so much. As Matt mentioned, that's partly because machines need data to learn from to make accurate decisions. The more examples they get of a particular type of content, the more patterns they can associate in that data, and the more they can generalize to identify that type of content. But if there isn't enough of one type of violative content in our systems to learn from, they just can't be as precise.
On top of that, there are some people who spend a lot of time looking for ways to actively get around our systems. For example, with spam or pornography, they're continuously testing our systems and inventing new ways to get around them. So we're in this constant battle to outthink and outmaneuver people who themselves are trying to outthink and outmaneuver us.
Machine learning also can't replace human judgment, especially for complex situations where context is important. For example, understanding the difference between hate speech at a rally and news reporting on that same event.
Hate speech is particularly complex because there's so many variations in terms of language, speakers, and expressions, and people who want to spread hate might use coded messages, like a sequence of numbers or letters. Hate speech can also evolve rapidly and involve new and emerging trends.
These are all areas where machine learning has its limitations, and that's why we rely on teams of expert human reviewers to work hand in hand with our systems to review and remove flagged content. Some harmful content is immediately removed by our machine learning systems, either because they are highly confident that it violates our community guidelines, or because they've removed similar content in the past, such as spam. But in all other cases, if a video or comment is flagged by our community or detected by our systems, and the systems can't be sure whether to remove it or not, it's up to our highly trained team of content reviewers to make a decision based on our enforcement guidelines.
We have reviewers in time zones across the world who are fluent in multiple languages, so we can respond to flags from our community, trusted flaggers, and our systems around the clock. They remove content that clearly violates our policies. For example, we removed a video that promoted the activities of a terrorist organization since it violated our policy against violent extremism, as well as a video on an amateur science channel featuring a live grasshopper being microwaved, which violated our violent or graphic content policy.
However, if our reviewers decide flagged content doesn't violate our community guidelines, they'll leave that content up. We apply the same rules to content across the board, no matter what the subject or who the creator is. Our reviewers make decisions based on comprehensive enforcement guidelines and are very well calibrated on where the line is to make sure our policies are enforced consistently.
Our reviewers can make exceptions for content that might seem at first glance to violate our policies, as long as there's a strong enough reason for it to stay on our platform. We call this EDSA content, which stands for educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic.
EDSA exceptions are important to us as they ensure diverse speech stays on YouTube, even if we disagree with what's being said, while at the same time protecting the platform from harmful content.
That means we can continue to feature things like stand-up comedy routines containing offensive material, as well as raw, sometimes violent news footage shared by journalists or NGOs.
For example, we gave an EDSA exception to a documentary about an alleged cure for homosexuality that contained people making claims of inferiority, but only because the content was designed to expose and condemn the subjects of the film. Also, while we don't allow content targeting minors with insults or bullying, we may allow content that shows this as part of an educational anti-bullying campaign.
To help determine whether a video might qualify for an EDSA exception, we look at multiple factors, including the video title, description, and the context provided. These are nuanced decisions that only a human reviewer can make, and we use those decisions from our reviewers as feedback to train and improve the decisions our machine learning systems can make, but on a much greater scale.
That's why being a reviewer involves training and an in-depth understanding of our community guidelines. And we continually evaluate our reviewers to make sure they're taking accurate, objective, and consistent policy actions, as well as to make sure that our policies are easy to understand and to enforce. Both Matt and I have spent a lot of time shadowing our reviewers to understand their jobs, and we've always been inspired by their passion, commitment, and pride in protecting YouTube from harmful content.
The reality is that the vast majority of our creators never break our community guidelines. If we do remove a video because it violated one of our policies, then we notify the creator to let them know what we've done and why we've done it. The first time, they may just receive a warning, but after that, they could get a community guidelines strike, as well as restrictions placed on their channel, such as not being able to upload videos, live streams, or stories for at least a week. 3 strikes in 90 days, and you're out.
From our earliest days, we relied on the 3-strike system, since it gives everyone a chance to review and understand what went wrong before they face more severe consequences. And it works. 94% of those who receive a first strike never go on to get a second one.
If there's clearly no chance of a channel learning from its mistakes, for example, if a channel is clearly dedicated to violating our policies, such as a channel owned by a terrorist organization, or when a violation is egregious, such as uploading content that sexualizes children, we may skip the strike system and remove the account altogether.
Again, as with any system, we sometimes make mistakes and remove a video we shouldn't remove. Like when a reviewer removed a video for what they thought was a violation of our misinformation policy, but it turned out to be a parody video that was apparent to most users. So when we notify creators that their videos are removed for policy violations, they receive a link to appeal our decision. If they appeal, we'll review the case, and then the decision is either upheld or reversed. Well, thanks to the hard work of our reviewers, as well as the teams behind our machine learning systems, we remove millions of videos, channels, and comments each quarter for violating our policies.
You can find a summary of our Community Guidelines Enforcement Report on the How YouTube Works website. And if you'd like even more detail, we publish the entire Community Guidelines Enforcement Report online every 3 months.
It's our responsibility to remove content that violates our community guidelines. But yes, sometimes harmful content gets through our systems. Sometimes we remove things we shouldn't remove. But when we make mistakes, just like our machine learning systems, we learn, adjust, and get better. And by making sure we have the right policies in place, investing in our teams, and developing technology, we're getting better all the time.
For more information about what we're doing to create a responsible platform for our community, visit the How YouTube Works website.
True or false? If you make a video that provides instructions on how to install a bump stock, that could result in a strike on your channel. The answer is true. YouTube is home to many creators who are firearm enthusiasts, but it's important to keep in mind that YouTube shouldn't be used to show how to make firearms, how to make certain accessories, or to sell them. Let's take a look at a few examples. A creator uploads a video showing how to make a silencer at home. In another video, a creator shows new firearms in their collection and tests them at a firing range. Do either of these videos violate our community guidelines? Yes. The first video violates our firearms policy. We don't allow content that shows you how to manufacture homemade silencers or suppressors. To learn more about our policies related to firearms, go to the YouTube Help Center article. Click here or the link in the description. Thanks for watching.